My $18 was good. This 20 is counterfeit.
What?
The 1970s sitcom shows appeared to be happy, but behind the scenes there was so much bad blood and unbelievably bitter feuds. What looked like harmless laughs on screen masked real tension, explosive arguments, and power plays happening off camera. These shows defined a generation, but the secrets behind them could wreck your nostalgia. From cast members who wouldn't speak to each other to execs trying to erase fan favorites. The 70s sitcom scene was less peace and love and more war zone. Let's pull back the curtain on the dark side of TV's so-called golden age. Number 10, Three's Company. Three's Company pushed boundaries with its risque premise. A man living with two women while pretending to be gay to fool their conservative landlord. The show's physical comedy and sexual innuendo made it a ratings powerhouse, despite constant criticism from family groups. What the network didn't expect was John Ritter's complete breakdown during the second season. The pressure of carrying the show's physical comedy while navigating the increasingly uncomfortable gay stereotype storylines pushed him to the edge. Ritter actually walked off set for 3 days in 1978, refusing to return until writers toned down what he called the most offensive character on television. Production shut down completely, and the cast thought the show was over. When Ritter finally returned, he had negotiated script approval for any scenes involving his character's fake sexuality, a clause that remained secret until after his passing. Number 9, The Odd Couple.
Driving each other crazy.
Based on Neil Simon's Broadway hit, The Odd Couple brought the mismatched roommates, Felix and Oscar, to television with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. The show's chemistry came from the actors' perfectly opposite personalities, both on and off screen. Most fans never noticed that Tony Randall and Jack Klugman genuinely couldn't stand each other by the final season. Their legendary on-screen chemistry was built on real-life tension that grew so toxic they stopped speaking between takes. The breaking point came when Randall discovered Klugman was actually making double his salary, despite Randall being the more established actor. Klugman's response? He told producers that Randall was expendable and could be replaced with any prissy character actor. The feud became so intense that they filmed most of their scenes separately during the last year, with editors working overtime to create the illusion they were still in the same room. If you're enjoying these behind-the-scenes revelations, hit that like button and drop a comment telling us your favorite 70s sitcom. We read every single one and love hearing from fellow nostalgia lovers. Number 8, Barney Miller. Barney Miller was a smart, understated cop comedy set in a worn-down New York precinct, where sharp dialogue and real-world issues took center stage. While other sitcoms leaned on slapstick, Barney Miller stood out for its clever writing, dry humor, and a cast that felt more like a real squad than a punchline machine. What most fans never realized is that Hal Linden, who played the title character, was actually the third choice for the role. The network originally wanted a much bigger name. Specifically, they pursued both Danny Thomas and Carl Reiner relentlessly. When both turned them down, producers were forced to settle for Linden, who was primarily known as a Broadway actor. The irony? Linden's understated performance became the show's greatest strength, but he spent the entire first season believing he was just a temporary placeholder until they found their real star. Number 7, The Bob Newhart Show. Bob Newhart's deadpan psychiatrist Bob Hartley became appointment television for millions of viewers, turning therapy sessions into comedy gold. The show's unique format, focusing on an ordinary man dealing with eccentric patients, was revolutionary for its time. Producers tried to bury this, but Suzanne Pleshette, who played Bob's wife Emily, was hired specifically because she was willing to work for significantly less money than other established actresses. The network's budget was so tight that they actually offered the role to 3 bigger names first, all of whom demanded salaries that would have killed the show before it started. Pleshette took the job knowing she was the bargain option, and the resentment festered throughout the early seasons. She later admitted in interviews that she felt like the discount wife and had to fight for every meaningful scene. Number 6. Maude.
Lady Godiva was a freedom rider.
Maude was television's first truly feminist sitcom, with B. Arthur's outspoken liberal character tackling everything from abortion to domestic violence. The show spun off from All in the Family and became just as controversial, proving that audiences were hungry for socially conscious comedy. Producers tried to bury this, but B. Arthur was fired and rehired 3 times during the show's run. Network executives were terrified of her off-screen personality, which was reportedly even more abrasive than her character. The final firing came when Arthur publicly criticized the network's censorship policies during a press conference, calling them cowardly and pathetic. She was officially terminated the next day, but ratings plummeted so dramatically that they begged her to return within a week. Arthur's condition for coming back? Complete creative control over her character's dialogue and the right to personally approve every script. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Subscribe to Primetime 70s for more shocking revelations about your favorite decade of television. Trust us, the biggest secret is still coming at number 1. Tell us your favorite in the comments. Number 5, Leverne and Shirley.
Give us any chance, we'll take it.
This Happy Days spinoff followed 2 working-class women in 1950s Milwaukee, becoming one of the most popular shows of the decade. Penny Marshall and Cindy Williams created an infectious chemistry that made their characters feel like real best friends. What most fans never realized is that Penny Marshall and Cindy Williams were locked in a vicious behind-the-scenes war that nearly destroyed the show. The conflict started when Williams discovered Marshall was earning more money despite having fewer lines, but it exploded when Marshall began dating the show's producer. Williams felt completely betrayed and started sabotaging Marshall's scenes, forgetting lines, missing cues, and even stepping on Marshall's dialogue. The situation became so toxic that they filmed separately whenever possible, with body doubles used for wide shots. Williams eventually quit the show entirely, but not before leaking embarrassing stories about Marshall to the tabloids. Number 4, The Jeffersons. The Jeffersons was groundbreaking television, featuring the first successful African-American family to move on up to Manhattan's elite Upper East Side. Sherman Hemsley and Isabel Sanford created one of TV's most memorable couples, and their show tackled racism with both humor and unflinching honesty. What the network didn't expect was Sherman Hemsley's complete refusal to film any scenes with certain guest stars. Hemsley maintained a secret blacklist of actors he considered Uncle Toms and would walk off set if they appeared. The most explosive incident occurred when a prominent black actor was hired for a 3-episode arc, only to have Hemsley demand their firing after reading the script. When producers refused, Hemsley locked himself in his dressing room for 2 days, forcing them to rewrite entire episodes. The blacklisted actor never knew why they were suddenly written out, and the real reason remained buried for decades. Number 3, Happy Days.
Happy Days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Happy Days.
Happy Days defined 1950s nostalgia for an entire generation, making stars out of Ron Howard and Henry Winkler. The show's wholesome portrayal of American family life became a cultural phenomenon, spawning catchphrases and countless imitators. Most fans never noticed that Ron Howard was secretly planning his exit from the very first season. Howard had already decided he wanted to direct films, and he viewed Happy Days as a stepping stone rather than a career destination. The shocking part? He was actively meeting with studios about directing opportunities while still under contract, something that could have destroyed his television career. When producers discovered his behind-the-scenes wheeling and dealing, they threatened to kill off his character entirely. Howard's solution was brilliant. He negotiated a clause allowing him to direct episodes of the show, essentially using Happy Days as his film school while collecting a paycheck. Number 2, The Mary Tyler Moore Show. The Mary Tyler Moore Show revolutionized television by presenting the first independent single woman as a protagonist who wasn't desperately seeking marriage. Mary Richards became a role model for millions of women entering the workforce, and the show's Minneapolis newsroom setting felt authentic and lived in. Producers tried to bury this, but Mary Tyler Moore was battling a severe alcohol problem throughout the show's entire run. Her drinking had become so problematic that scripts were specifically written to minimize her dialogue during certain episodes when she couldn't function properly. The cast and crew developed an elaborate system of cover-ups, including having other actors feed her lines through hidden earpieces and scheduling her scenes only during the mornings when she was still coherent. The most heartbreaking part? Moore's drinking was triggered by the pressure of being television's perfect woman while her personal life was falling apart. She later admitted that she was drunk during the filming of some of the show's most beloved episodes. And at number 1, All in the Family. All in the Family changed television forever by bringing real social issues into American living rooms through the bigoted but somehow lovable Archie Bunker. Carol O'Connor's performance made viewers both laugh at and examine their own prejudices, creating the most controversial and influential sitcom of the decade. What most fans never realized is that Carol O'Connor nearly quit the show every single season because he was terrified of being typecast as a racist. The psychological toll of playing Archie Bunker was devastating. O'Connor would go home after filming and obsess over whether audiences understood that he was mocking bigotry, not celebrating it. The breaking point came during the 3rd season when O'Connor received death threats from actual white supremacists who thought he was their spokesperson. He demanded that producers hire bodyguards and change his character, but when they refused, he walked off set for an entire week. The show's creator, Norman Lear, finally convinced him to return with a promise that they would gradually make Archie more sympathetic and less hateful. That compromise may have saved the show, but it also fundamentally changed the character that made All in the Family so groundbreaking in the first place. The most shocking secret? O'Connor was so traumatized by playing Archie that he refused to watch his own episodes and never owned a single piece of All in the Family merchandise. The man who created television's most memorable character spent decades trying to forget him entirely. With television shows, the real drama was always happening behind the cameras. From salary wars to secret addictions, the 1970 sitcom world was far more complex than those laugh tracks ever suggested. The nostalgia might be sweet, but the truth is often bitter. What other secrets from television's golden age do you want us to uncover? Drop your suggestions in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the decade that changed everything.